The text message glowed on my phone screen like a burning bridge. You're not welcome here anymore. Don't come to Sunday dinner. Your choices have embarrassed this family enough. I sat in my private office on the 50th floor of the Anderson Tower, no relation to my family name, though that irony would soon become delicious, looking out over the Manhattan skyline. Below, tiny figures hustled through the early December chill, unaware that one of the biggest corporate takeovers in recent history was about to unfold. My father's text wasn't surprising. Last night's family dinner had been the final straw, the moment I refused to accept a rescue package position at Anderson Global, their precious family company. A company that, unknown to them, was already mine. You're throwing your life away. Dad had shouted, his face red with rage, sterling silverware rattling as his fist hit the mahogany dining table. 10 years of wandering around doing God knows what, and now you refuse a VP position handed to you on a silver platter? Mom had dabbed her eyes with an embroidered napkin, ever the perfect picture of maternal disappointment. Michael darling, we just want what's best for you. You're 35, unmarried, and what do you have to show for it? At least with Anderson Global you'd have stability, respect. They only knew. The wandering years they lamented had been spent building Shadow Peak Ventures, now one of the most powerful private equity firms in the world. We operated in absolute secrecy, using layers of shell companies and private holdings. Our acquisitions were swift, silent, and absolute. And Anderson Global? I'd been buying their shares through various fronts for the past 3 years. Last week we'd finally secured the controlling interest. The board meeting scheduled for Monday would announce the new ownership and the complete restructuring of the company. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Dad. Your mother's crying. I hope you're happy with yourself. Some son you turned out to be. I smiled, remembering all the family dinners over the years. The constant comparisons to my cousins who took respectable corporate jobs. The thinly veiled disappointment when I left my junior position at a prestigious firm to find myself. The whispers about how the Anderson name was being wasted on me. Mr. Anderson? My assistant's voice came through the intercom. The board packets for Monday have been prepared. Would you like to review them? Bring them in, Jessica. She entered, carrying a stack of leather portfolios. Each contained the detailed restructuring plan for Anderson Global, including the new organizational chart. My parents' names were notably absent from the executive level. The press release is ready too, Jessica added. We'll distribute it Monday at 9 a.m., right as the board meeting begins. I opened one of the portfolios, admiring the clean lines of the new company logo. Shadow Peak's acquisition of Anderson Global would be our first public move, our emergence from the shadows. The business world would finally know who we were, and my parents would finally understand what their wayward son had built. A notification popped up on my computer. Dad had just sent a company-wide email announcing an emergency board meeting for Monday morning. The subject line read, "Critical announcement, attendance mandatory." He had no idea he'd just invited me to my own coronation. My phone rang. It was my younger sister Emma, the only family member who knew the truth. She'd kept my secret for years, watching our parents' treatment of me with growing disgust. "They're really done it this time, haven't they?" she said when I answered. "Mom just called, crying about how you've rejected the family legacy and thrown away your last chance." "How dramatic of her," I replied, scanning the restructuring documents. "Will you be at the board meeting Monday?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Emma laughed. "I've already planned my outfit for when their worlds implode. But Michael, are you sure about this? It's going to destroy them." I thought back to every dismissive comment, every comparison to more successful relatives, every lecture about responsibility and family legacy. I remembered Dad's words from my college graduation. "The business world will eat you alive, son. You don't have what it takes." "They destroyed themselves, I said quietly. They were so busy mourning the son they wanted that they never saw who I actually was. Monday just makes it official. My computer pinged with another email, the final confirmation from our lawyers. Shadow Peak Ventures now officially owned 51% of Anderson Global's shares. The company my grandfather had built, that my father had grown, and that they'd never thought I was worthy of, was mine. I pulled up the morning's financial reports. Anderson Global's stock had been declining steadily for years under my father's outdated leadership. Their market share was shrinking, their technology lagging decades behind. The company needed a complete overhaul. Exactly what Shadow Peak specialized in. Jessica, I called through the intercom. Please make sure my suit for Monday is ready. The charcoal Tom Ford. The one we had tailored last week? Already done, sir. And the car will be ready at 8 a.m. Monday to take you to Anderson Global Headquarters. I looked at the family photo on my desk, taken 10 years ago, right before I left to start my own path. Dad stood proud in his Anderson Global CEO pose, Mom perfectly coiffed beside him. They looked so certain of their world, so secure in their assumptions about success and failure. Monday would change everything. My phone buzzed one final time. Mom, we only wanted what was best for you. One day you'll understand that running away from responsibility isn't the answer. I placed the phone face down, turning to watch the sunset paint Manhattan in shades of gold. In my reflection on the window, I saw not the failure my parents imagined, but the architect of their company's future. Monday couldn't come soon enough. Monday morning arrived with the weight of destiny. I stood in my penthouse dressing room, adjusting my Tom Ford tie, a subtle power move as it cost more than my father's entire wardrobe. The news channels buzzed in the background, financial analysts speculating about the mysterious trading activity around Anderson Global's stock. Shadow Peak Ventures remains the market's greatest enigma, a CNBC analyst was saying. Their acquisitions are legendary, but nobody knows who runs it. Today's Anderson Global board meeting has sparked rumors of another major takeover. My phone lit up with messages from board members, old friends of my father mostly, all desperately trying to understand why their secure shares had been quietly transferred to unknown entities over the past 3 years. None of them had bothered to look closely at the shell companies and holding firms I'd created. They were too comfortable, too certain of their position. Just like my parents. Emma called as I was getting into the car. Mom and Dad are already at the office, she reported. Dad's practically having a meltdown. They've discovered that most of the board members have sold their shares to unknown parties. He's called in every lawyer and financial advisor he knows. How's Mom taking it? I asked, watching the city scroll past my tinted windows. Oh, she's in full crisis mode. Called me at dawn asking if I knew anything about corporate raiders or hostile takeovers. The irony of her asking her children who know nothing about business for help is just. Emma's laugh was sharp and satisfied. The car pulled up to Anderson Global's headquarters, a dated building that desperately needed modernization, like everything else about my father's company. Security guards nodded respectfully, not recognizing me as the band's son but seeing only a powerful-looking executive in a perfect suit. In the elevator I checked my watch. 8:45 a.m. In 15 minutes the press release would go live, and Shadow Peak's ownership of Anderson Global would become public knowledge. But first I had a board meeting to attend. I could hear the chaos before I reached the boardroom. Raised voices, shuffling papers, the distinctive sound of my father's authoritative tone trying to maintain control of a situation already far beyond his grasp. We need to identify these shareholders immediately, he was saying as I approached. Anderson Global has been a family company for 3 generations. We can't let some corporate raider. I opened the boardroom doors. The conversation died instantly. 20 faces turned to stare at me, board members, executives, lawyers, and my parents, all seated at the massive mahogany table that had witnessed decades of my father's reign. Michael. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. What are you doing here? This is a private board meeting. Actually, I said, walking to the head of the table, my father's usual seat. I have every right to be here. In fact, I called this meeting. Dad stood up, his face flushing. This is ridiculous. Security. Sit down, Dad, I said quietly, placing my briefcase on the table. You'll want to hear this. The room's screens lit up simultaneously, displaying Shadow Peak's logo. Right on schedule, my phone buzzed with notifications. The press release was live. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, enjoying the growing horror on my father's face. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Shadow Peak Ventures owns a controlling interest in Anderson Global. As founder and CEO of Shadow Peak, I'm here to discuss the company's new direction. The silence was absolute. I could actually hear my mother's pearl necklace click against the table as she slumped forward. You're Shadow Peak? Dad's voice cracked. That's impossible. Shadow Peak is a multi-billion-dollar. He stopped, understanding finally dawning. Indeed, I smiled, opening my briefcase. Those wandering years you so often criticized? I was building one of the most successful private equity firms in the world. While you were telling everyone I was finding myself, I was orchestrating acquisitions larger than Anderson Global's entire market cap. I distributed the restructuring documents. You'll find your retirement packages on page 3. They're quite generous. I'm not completely heartless. Though considering how you've treated me for the past decade, perhaps I should be. Dad's hands shook as he flipped through the papers. This is a joke. It has to be a joke. The same joke that acquired Pacific Industries last year? Or maybe you mean the Thompson Group takeover. I leaned forward. Oh wait. You called those masterful business moves at last month's dinner, didn't you? Right before telling me I wouldn't understand such complex transactions. Board members were whispering among themselves, some already reaching for their phones to call their brokers. They could see the writing on the wall, Anderson Global, as they knew it was over. Michael, Mom tried, tears streaming down her face. We're your parents. You can't just. Can't what, Mom? Succeed beyond your narrow definition of success? Build something bigger than Dad's precious family company? Or do you mean I can't fire you? Because actually I can do all of those things. I stood up, buttoning my jacket. The press conference is in an hour. New management team takes over this afternoon. Don't worry, your personal belongings will be packed and delivered to your homes. You'll regret this, Dad said, but his voice held no power anymore. The board won't stand for it. The board. I laughed. Look around, Dad. They've already accepted their severance packages. While you were talking, they were signing their resignation letters. He looked around the table, seeing former allies already walking toward the door, their loyalty worth exactly the price of their golden parachutes. One more thing, I added, turning back at the door. About Sunday dinner. I'm afraid I'll have to cancel. I have a company to run. The next 24 hours transformed Anderson Global, and my family, forever. The press conference exploded across financial media. Shadow Peak Ventures reveals mysterious founder in stunning Anderson Global takeover. CNBC ran special segments on the hidden billionaire, who built an empire in secret. Wall Street Journal's headline read, Prodigal Son Returns, the greatest corporate sleight of hand in decades. I watched the chaos unfold from my new office, formerly my father's sanctuary for 30 years. The modern furniture and technology I'd ordered were being installed, erasing decades of outdated luxury. The oil painting of my grandfather that had hung behind the desk was being replaced with a digital art wall. The old making way for the new in every sense. Emma arrived around noon, carrying a bottle of champagne and wearing a triumphant smile. Well, dear brother, you've certainly outdone yourself. Have you seen social media? Mom's country club friends are having collective meltdowns. All those years they spent pitying her for having such a disappointing son. How are they taking it? I asked, though I could guess. Dad's locked himself in his study. Mom's been calling everyone she knows, trying to explain how she always believed in you and supported your dreams. Emma rolled her eyes, pouring champagne into crystal glasses. The cognitive dissonance is astounding. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Please, Michael. We need to talk. We're still family. Family. The word had been a weapon they'd wielded against me for years. Family obligation. Family legacy. Family disappointment. Mr. Anderson, my assistant interrupted through the intercom, your parents are in the lobby demanding to see you. Security would like instructions. I considered for a moment. Send them up. It's time to finish this. They arrived looking like ghosts of their former selves. Dad's perfectly pressed suits and Mom's designer outfits couldn't hide their shattered confidence. They stood in my new office, surrounded by the physical manifestation of their failed assumptions. 10 minutes, I said, not offering them seats. That's all I can spare between transforming your failed company into something profitable. Failed company? Dad's face reddened. I built this. Into a dinosaur. I cut him off. Your technology is obsolete. Your management structure is from the 1980s. You've lost market share every quarter for 5 years. The only thing keeping your stock price up was my quiet acquisition of shares. Mom stepped forward, tears ready. Darling, we only wanted what's best for me. Oh. You wanted what was best for your image. The perfect son in the perfect position following the perfect path. Did you ever even once ask what I wanted? We gave you everything. Dad exploded. Private schools, connections, opportunities. You gave me everything except respect, I replied calmly. Every success I had that didn't fit your narrative was dismissed. Every achievement that didn't match your plan was ignored. So I stopped telling you about them. I pulled up financial documents on the wall screen. Shadow Peak Ventures. Founded 7 years ago. Current value, $12.8 billion. Portfolio companies in technology, healthcare, real estate. Operations in 12 countries. All built while you were telling people I was finding myself. They stared at the numbers, the empire their failure son had built. The night you told me I'd never understand real business? I continued. I had just closed a $3 billion acquisition. When you offered me that insulting VP position. I owned companies bigger than Anderson Global. Every dinner where you compared me to my successful cousins, I was making moves that will be taught in business schools. Why didn't you tell us? Mom whispered. Would you have believed me? Or would you have tried to take control like you did with everything else in my life?